I came home early with champagne in my bag and a secret surprise for my husband, David. We were supposed to celebrate our anniversary this weekend. But the moment I stepped inside, I knew something was wrong. A man's shoes lay near the door. David's blazer was thrown over the stairs like he didn't even care anymore. I followed the trail without thinking, shirt, belt, his watch, up to our bedroom. Then I heard it. A woman's voice, breathless, familiar. My sister Emma. My hand froze near the bedroom handle. I didn't open it. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just stood there while the bed creaked behind the door, our bed. My phone slipped into my palm. I opened the recording app. My fingers stopped shaking the moment I pressed record. I recorded everything. Not because I wanted proof for my heart. Because I wanted proof for their destruction. After a few minutes, silence fell upstairs. I heard the shower turn on. They were washing it off like it meant nothing, like I was stupid, like I would never find out. But I already had enough. I walked silently into the guest bathroom and locked the door. I looked at myself in the mirror, still in my office suit, still looking like the same woman who had just closed the biggest deal of her career. Only now, my face looked colder. I checked the time. 3:42 p.m. David wasn't supposed to be home until 7. So for the past months, every late meeting was a lie. My phone buzzed, a message from my assistant, "Congratulations, dinner at 7. I typed back, "Yes." Upstairs, footsteps moved again. The bedroom door opened softly. Emma was trying to sneak out. I stepped out of the bathroom quietly and walked to my study like nothing happened. Then I opened David's laptop. And that's when I realized. This affair wasn't new. It was planned. And I was about to learn just how deep it went. I stayed calm while my sister crept out of my bedroom like a thief. I didn't stop her. I wanted her to leave thinking she got away with it. I walked into my study, opened David's laptop, and typed the same password he'd used for years. Emma's birthday. The screen unlocked like it was mocking me. First thing I opened was his card statement. My eyes scanned the charges and my stomach turned cold. Palmer Hotel every Tuesday. Same amount, same pattern, 6 months straight. And those Tuesdays were the same days David told me he had client meetings late. I checked the dates against my calendar. Every Tuesday, I stayed at the office late. Every Tuesday, he stayed in a hotel room with my sister. Then I opened his email. There were confirmations, room bookings, late checkouts, even messages labeled Henderson meeting that were clearly not meetings at all. I clicked his cloud storage next. And there it was. A folder named Personal. Inside it, screenshots of messages with a saved contact, Emma M. My sister's voice turned into text. Same time tomorrow. I can't wait to be in your arms again. She'll never suspect us. I took screenshots of everything, every message, every booking, every lie. Then I found something worse. An apartment lease. Emma had rented a place nearby under her old name, like she planned this. So this wasn't one mistake, it was a routine. A schedule. A double life. Upstairs, the shower stopped. I heard David moving around, confident and relaxed, like he hadn't just buried our marriage. A few minutes later, his footsteps came down. Then the study door opened. David smiled like nothing happened. "Hey babes, you're home early." I smiled back, sweet, normal. "Yeah," I said, "I wanted to surprise you." He stepped closer, trying to kiss my forehead. I didn't move away. I let him think I was still his wife. Then I picked up my phone, checked the time, and spoke calmly. "David, I think we should celebrate tonight." His eyes lit up. "Really?" I nodded, "Yes, but not just us." He frowned slightly. "What do you mean?" I looked straight at him and said, "I invited Emma too." And the second I said her name, his face changed. He didn't hide it fast enough. That fear told me everything. Because I wasn't guessing anymore. I was hunting. David tried to recover fast. "Why would you invite Emma?" I smiled, "Because she's family, and I want tonight to be special." He nodded slowly, but his eyes kept searching my face like he was trying to read danger. He didn't find it, because I wasn't showing it. I acted normal the entire evening. I cooked dinner, played music, even laughed at his stupid jokes. David relaxed again. He always thought I was easy to fool. At 6:40, the doorbell rang. Emma walked in wearing a sweet smile and pretending nothing happened. Her hair was still slightly damp. She had showered in my house after sleeping with my husband. "Surprise," she said, hugging me. I hugged her back. David stared at her for half a second too long, then he forced a laugh. "Didn't know you were coming." Emma played innocent. "Your wife invited me." We sat at the table like a perfect family. David poured wine, Emma crossed her legs, and I watched them perform. Then I placed my phone on the table. Both of them noticed. Emma's smile tightened. "What's that?" I said calmly, "A recording." David froze. Emma's face went pale. I didn't play the whole audio. I only played 10 seconds. Her voice filled the room. A moan. My name being mocked. The chair scraped as Emma jerked back. David's hand trembled around his glass. I paused the recording and looked at them. "Should I play more?" I asked, "or is that enough?" Emma started crying immediately. "It's not what you think." David cut her off. "Stop talking." Then he turned to me. "Listen, this was a mistake, a one-time thing." I opened my laptop and pushed it toward him. Palmer Hotel, every Tuesday, 6 months. His face dropped. I clicked the lease document next. And an apartment, in Emma's old name. Emma's crying turned into panic. "I can explain." I leaned in. "Explain what, how long you planned this, or how you both laughed at me." David reached for my hand. "Please, we can fix this." I pulled my hand back. "Fix what?" I asked. "My marriage or your career?" He blinked. "What are you talking about?" I opened another folder. Screenshots of his billing emails and fake meetings. "You used those client meetings as cover," I said, "but you also billed your firm for them." David's mouth opened, but no words came out. I stood up slowly. "Tomorrow," I said, "your partners will get everything." Then I turned to Emma. "And your sponsors will get it too." Emma screamed, "You can't do this." I smiled. "Watch me." David finally exploded. "You're ruining us." I leaned close and whispered, "You already ruined yourselves." And then I said the final line that shattered the room. "I'm not divorcing you to be free. I'm divorcing you to take everything." Emma jumped up, shaking. "You're insane. You'll destroy the whole family." David grabbed my chair arm. "Sit down. We need to talk like adults." I looked at his hand on my chair, then at his face. "You don't touch me anymore," I said. He slowly let go. Emma tried again, crying louder. "It was a mistake. I was weak. I didn't mean." I cut her off. "You meant it every Tuesday." Silence hit like a slap. David's voice turned cold. "What do you want?" I nodded once, like I'd been waiting for that question. "I want the truth," I said. "Start from the beginning." Emma shook her head fast. David stared at the table. I pulled out a folder and placed it in front of them. "Divorce papers." David blinked hard. "You already?" "Yes," I said. "I prepared it today, while you were upstairs." Emma covered her mouth like she might throw up. David flipped through the pages with shaking fingers. Then he froze on one page. He looked up slowly. This clause." I smiled. "Prenup, adultery clause, you lose everything you touched with my money." His face turned gray. Emma whispered, "What money?" I leaned back. "My money, the business my father signed over to me last year, the shares you never asked about, the accounts you never checked." David's lips parted. "You didn't tell me." "I didn't need to," I replied. "You were too busy hiding hotel receipts." Emma suddenly understood. Her crying stopped. Her eyes narrowed. "So this is about money," she spat. I stared at her. "This is about you crawling into my life and trying to steal it." David threw the papers on the table. "You can't take everything. Half of it is mine." I slid my phone across. A screenshot of his email. "Client meeting, bill 6 hours." Then another, "Hotel confirmation." Then another, "Lease." I said calmly, "Fraud, adultery, and breach. You won't get half. You'll get lucky if you don't get prison." David's eyes widened. "You wouldn't." I stood up. "I already did." David's face snapped up. "What?" I tapped the laptop. I sent a copy to my lawyer. It's timed. It goes out at 9 a.m. Emma rushed forward. Cancel it, please. I stepped back. You had 6 months to stop. David's voice dropped into a threat. If you do this, you'll regret it. I smiled. Regret? I asked. David, I've been married to you. I already know regret. Then my phone buzzed. A message from my lawyer. Clause confirmed. We can take everything. I showed them the screen. David stumbled backward, like someone punched him. Emma started screaming again, but I was already walking away. I paused at the doorway and said, Pack your things tonight. David shouted, This is my house too. I turned my head slowly. Not after midnight, I said. And I locked them inside the disaster they created. At 11:30 p.m., David knocked on my bedroom door like a stranger. Open, he said, we need to talk. I didn't answer. He knocked harder, you can't lock me out. I finally opened the door halfway. You're right, I can't. Then I raised my phone. I can call the police, I said, and report an intruder. David stared at me, shocked. You'd really do that? I nodded, try me. He stepped back slowly, like he finally realized I wasn't bluffing. Emma appeared behind him, eyes swollen. Please, just listen to us. I looked at her. You listened to me for years, you smiled in my face, you ate at my table. Emma whispered, I loved him. That made me laugh, a short, cold laugh. David snapped, don't laugh at her. I leaned closer, don't defend her, not after what I know. David's expression shifted, what do you mean? I opened my phone and showed them another folder. Emma froze, what is that? I said, your messages weren't the only thing in his cloud. David's face tightened, stop. I clicked one file. A video. David was in a hotel room but not with Emma. Another woman, younger, laughing, wearing a bracelet Emma always wore. Emma's mouth fell open, what is that? David lunged for my phone, I stepped back fast. Emma turned toward him, you cheated on me too. David shouted, it's not. Emma slapped him. Hard. The sound echoed through the hallway. I watched them fall apart like glass. Emma screamed, you told me I was the only one. David grabbed his face furious, shut up, not now. I smiled softly, now you understand, you weren't special, you were just convenient. Emma's eyes filled again, but this time with rage. You used me. David pointed at me, you're doing this on purpose. I nodded, yes. David's voice lowered, fine, you want war. He pulled out his phone and started typing fast. I asked calmly, what are you doing? He smiled like he'd found power again, calling your father, telling him what kind of daughter you are. I laughed again, go ahead. David hesitated, why are you smiling? I stepped closer and whispered, because my father already knows. Emma blinked, what? I said, I called him hours ago, I told him everything, and guess what he said? David's throat moved, what did he say? I looked straight at Emma. He said you're no longer his daughter. Emma's face collapsed. David's confidence vanished. Then my phone buzzed again. A notification from my security system. Front door access removed, David. I showed David the screen. His eyes went wide. You're locked out, I said, starting now. David shouted, you can't do this. I replied, calm, sharp. I just did. And I closed the door on both of them. At 7:55 a.m., my phone rang again. David. I didn't answer. Then another call. Then Emma. I blocked both numbers. At 8:10 my lawyer texted, ready, send. I typed one word, send. At exactly 9:00 a.m., the email went out to David's senior partners, compliance officer, and HR. Subject, billing fraud plus misconduct, immediate review. 10 minutes later, the first message came in. David, what did you do? I stared at the screen, calm. Then the second message. David, please, ruin me. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. I answered. A man's voice, Mrs. Carter, this is Mr. Holden from Henderson and Associates. We need to speak about David immediately. I smiled slightly. Yes, I expected your call. He paused. You sent evidence. Is it real? It's all real, I said. Hotel receipts, email confirmations, fraud billing, false client meetings. His breathing changed. We're calling an emergency partner meeting. I replied, good. He hesitated. David said you're upset, that this is personal. It is personal, I said, and it's professional too. He mixed both. That's not my problem. Then I ended the call. At 9:40, Emma's first message hit through another number. Emma, please stop. I'll do anything. I didn't reply. At 10:15, my assistant walked into my office. You're trending, she said slowly. I looked up. What? She showed me her phone. A gossip page had posted, top lawyer under investigation for fraud. No mention of me, no mention of Emma. Only David. Exactly how I wanted it. At 10:30, David came to my office building. Security called me. Ma'am, a man is demanding to see you. I said, tell him I'm unavailable. David started shouting, loud enough for people to hear. I walked out, not scared, not shaking. David rushed toward me. You're a monster. I leaned close. Lower your voice. He grabbed my arm. Fix this. You can't destroy my career over a mistake. I pulled away. 6 months isn't a mistake. David's eyes turned wild. You think you're untouchable. I took out my phone and pressed one button. Security surrounded him instantly. David froze. I said quietly, touch me again and you'll be arrested. David stared at the guards, then at me. Then his voice broke. Please, he whispered, please don't do this. I looked him in the eyes. I didn't do this, I said. You did. He tried one last time. Emma meant nothing, I love you. I smiled. Emma meant enough to destroy me, so now she'll watch me destroy you. Then I turned away. And behind me, David screamed in pure panic. You'll regret this. But I didn't stop walking. Because regret wasn't coming. Justice was. At 12:05 p.m. my lawyer called. David's firm opened a formal investigation, she said. He's been suspended pending review. I asked calmly, equity. Frozen, she replied. And there's more, he's blaming you. He's claiming you hacked his accounts. I smiled, let him. My lawyer paused, you're sure? I have originals, I said, and the hotel receipts are in his name. She exhaled, good, next Emma. I ended the call and opened Emma's public profile. She was live on social media, face covered in makeup, acting normal. Then she said it. I've been going through a hard time. People are jealous of me. I stared at the screen and felt nothing. I forwarded a folder to my PR contact. Subject, 4 sponsors, contract violation. Inside, proof of affair, the dates, the audio clip, and the apartment lease. My PR contact replied, understood, I'll deliver it quietly. At 1:10 p.m., Emma's first sponsor dropped her. At 1:15, another one. At 1:20, a third. Emma ended her live stream suddenly. 5 minutes later, she called me from a blocked number. I answered. Her voice came out shaking. Why are you doing this to me? I said, you did it to yourself. Emma cried, I'll lose everything. I laughed once. You already took everything from me, now it's my turn. Emma's voice snapped, you're evil. I replied, I'm awake. Then she whispered, David said you were always cold. Now I understand. I said calmly, you didn't understand anything. You thought stealing my husband would make you feel powerful. Emma screamed, he loved me. I stayed silent for 2 seconds. Then I said, Emma, do you want to see what I found? Her breathing stopped. What? I sent one video file to her phone. 30 seconds later, she called again, louder, desperate. Who is that girl? She screamed. I smiled, not you. Emma started sobbing. He told me I was the only one. I said, you were just the easiest one. Silence hit. Then Emma's voice turned dangerous. You think you're safe, she hissed. I'll tell everyone what you're doing. I'll ruin your reputation. I replied, try. Emma snapped, I'll say you set us up. I'll say you're crazy. I said, then I'll post the full audio. Emma gasped, you wouldn't. I would, I said, and I'll tag your sponsors. Emma started begging again. Please, please don't, I'll leave him, I'll disappear, just stop. I leaned back in my chair. You can disappear, I said, but your choices won't. Emma whispered, broken, what do you want from me? I answered slowly, clearly. I want you to feel what I felt. Then I ended the call. And seconds later, Emma's biggest sponsor posted. We are terminating our partnership effective immediately. Emma's world started collapsing in public. And I wasn't even done. That night, I returned home to silence. David's key no longer worked. Emma wasn't there, but I knew they weren't finished. At 9:30 p.m., my phone buzzed nonstop. Messages from unknown numbers. You ruined them. You're heartless. How could you do this to your sister? I stared at the screen, then smiled. Emma was spreading the story. Not the truth. Her version. At 10:05 p.m. my father called. His voice was calm but sharp. Emma came to the house, he said. She cried, she blamed you. I asked, what did you say? I asked her one question, he replied. Why were you in your sister's bed? I closed my eyes once. Did she answer? He laughed coldly. She couldn't. Then he said something that made my blood turn colder. David is planning something, he warned. He came with her. I sat up straight. He was with her. Yes, my father said, and he threatened legal action. I said calmly, let him try. My father paused. They're desperate. Desperate people do stupid things. At 11:20 p.m. it happened. A post went viral. It was on a popular page with millions of followers. Headline, Wife Destroys Husband's Career After Affair. They painted David as a victim. They painted Emma as misunderstood. And they painted me as a bitter woman who couldn't handle being left. My name wasn't mentioned. But the details were too accurate. Someone close to me fed them the story. Emma. I opened the comments. People were attacking the wife. Calling her cruel. Saying she deserved to be cheated on. My assistant texted, are you okay? People are tagging you, they think it's you. So that was the plan. Not to win legally. To destroy me socially. I stared at the screen for 2 minutes without blinking. Then I called my PR contact. I said, post my statement, now. She replied, are you sure? Once it's public, there's no return. I whispered, good. At 11:45 p.m., my statement went live. Not emotional. Not angry. Just facts. Hotel receipts. Apartment lease. Fraud billing. Audio proof. And one sentence at the end. If they want war in public, I will finish it in public. Within minutes, the page deleted their post. But it was too late. Screenshots were everywhere. David called immediately. I answered. He sounded frantic. Take it down, you're killing us. I replied, you started this. Emma grabbed the phone from him. I heard her scream. You're a psycho. I said calmly, no, I'm your consequence. Then I heard David say something low, deadly. We're coming to the house. My smile vanished. I whispered, try. And I pressed the button to activate the system. Because if they crossed my door again, they wouldn't leave the same way. At 12:18 a.m., the front gate camera detected movement. 2 figures at the gate. David and Emma. David was shouting, pounding the metal like it was still his home. Emma stood behind him, recording on her phone, ready to create another fake story. I watched from my bedroom screen. Then I opened the app and hit one button. Lockdown mode, ON. All doors sealed, lights outside turned on, cameras switched to high recording. David looked up, blinded by the floodlights. Emma's phone tilted, trying to keep the drama alive. I called the police. I didn't scream, I didn't panic. I spoke like I was reporting a stranger. There are 2 people outside my property, I said. They're trying to break in. Dispatch asked, are they armed? I looked at the screen. David kicked the gate again. Yes, I replied, they're dangerous. And I meant it. 10 minutes later, sirens cut through the night. David stopped kicking and tried to smile like an innocent man. Emma wiped her face quickly, changing into a victim. The police car arrived. 2 officers stepped out. David raised his hands. "Officer, this is my house too." Emma cried instantly. "His wife is crazy, she's framing us." The officer looked at the gate camera light, then at the signs. "Property belongs to Mrs. Carter," he said. David snapped, "That's my wife, I live here." The officer asked, "Sir, do you have access?" David froze. He pulled out his key and tried the gate lock. It didn't work. Emma whispered sharply, "Use your code." David typed, "Access DNID." His face turned red. The officer's voice hardened, "Step back from the gate." David shouted, "This is illegal, she can't lock me out." Emma pointed at the camera. "She's recording us, she's setting us up." Then the second officer spoke. "Ma'am, are you aware you're trespassing?" Emma screamed, "I'm his family." The officer replied, "Family doesn't override property rights." David's voice dropped dangerous. "Let me in, I just want my things." The officer asked, "Do you have any court order or legal permission tonight?" David said nothing. Emma suddenly lunged forward and shook the gate like an animal. "I know she's in there," she screamed. "Come out." The officer grabbed her arm. "Ma'am, calm down." Emma yanked away. "Don't touch me." The officer warned, "Stop resisting." Then Emma shouted the worst thing possible. "She stole my man, she's lying." The officers stared at her. David's face twitched. He realized Emma just admitted everything. I zoomed in on the screen and watched David's brain panic. The officer turned to David. "Sir, is there an ongoing domestic situation?" David tried to speak, his mouth failed him. Emma screamed again, tell them she's evil." But David didn't. Because he knew if the police wrote the truth in their report, my lawyer would use it to bury them. The officer pulled out handcuffs. And the next sound I heard wasn't Emma's begging. It was metal locking around her wrists. Emma's scream turned into pleading the second the cuffs clicked. "No, officer, please, I didn't do anything." David stepped back like she was poison. The officer read her rights. Emma kept shaking her head, crying harder. David suddenly raised his hands again. "I tried to stop her," he said fast. "She's unstable." I stared at the screen, shocked by how quickly he threw her away. Emma snapped her head toward him. "David, what are you saying?" David didn't look at her. The officer asked, "Sir, were you trying to break in?" David shook his head. "No, I live here, but my wife changed the locks." The officer replied, "Do you have proof of residency?" David's throat tightened. "My name is on." "On what?" The officer cut him off. "The deed shows her name." David's face cracked. He looked at the officer like he might beg, "I just want my things." The officer said, "Then you'll file a legal request, not tonight." David nodded quickly. "Understood, I'll leave." Emma started sobbing louder. "David, don't leave me." David still didn't look at her. I watched his eyes. They weren't guilty. They were calculating. Then he did something worse. He leaned toward the officer and spoke quietly, like he was offering information. "Officer, she's been stalking us," David said, pointing at Emma. "She forced me into this mess." Emma's head snapped back. "I what?" David continued, "She threatened to expose me if I didn't comply. She manipulated everything." Emma screamed, "Liar." The officer looked at Emma again, suspicious now. Emma panicked. He's lying, ask him who booked the hotels." David replied instantly, "She did. She used my card, she knows my passwords." I felt my stomach drop. David was trying to build his defense. If he could paint Emma as the mastermind, he could survive. Emma shouted, "You told me you loved me." David finally looked at her. His eyes were dead. "I never loved you," he said. Emma froze like someone shot her. Even the officers paused. Emma whispered, broken, you said you'd leave her." David turned away. "You believed whatever you wanted." Emma started shaking violently. "You used me." David shrugged. "You offered yourself." Emma screamed at the top of her lungs. "I destroyed my life for you." David replied coldly, "That's your problem." The officer pulled Emma toward the car. Emma fought, crying, reaching for David. David stepped back again, disgusted. Emma screamed his name like she was drowning. Then she screamed mine. "You think you won," she yelled. "He'll do worse to you, he'll ruin you." David's head snapped toward her. His jaw tightened. I saw it in his eyes. Emma had just crossed the line. David walked toward the police car suddenly. "Officer," he said quickly, "I want to press charges." The officer frowned. "Against who?" David pointed at Emma. "For harassment, stalking, and blackmail." Emma went silent. Then she laughed like she lost her mind. Because she finally understood. David didn't just betray her. He was about to bury her alive to save himself. At 8:00 a.m., my father called me. "Come to the house," he said, "now." His voice didn't sound angry. It sounded final. I arrived 20 minutes later. My mother was in the living room, stiff and pale. My father stood near the window with his arms behind his back like a judge waiting for court. He didn't hug me, he didn't ask if I was okay. He said one thing. "Emma is here." My chest tightened. "Where?" He nodded toward the dining room. Emma sat at the table like she belonged there, eyes red, hair messy, still wearing last night's clothes. She looked up when she saw me and flinched. My mother whispered. She came at dawn, crying. Emma stood quickly. "Please let me talk to you." I didn't sit, I didn't soften. I asked, "Did the police let you go?" Emma's face twisted. "David dropped it, he told them I was nothing." I stared at her. "So now you came to us." Emma moved closer. "I made a mistake." My father slammed his hand on the table. "One mistake," he said sharply. "You didn't trip and fall into your sister's marriage." Emma started crying again. "He promised me." My father cut her off. "I don't care what he promised, I care what you did." My mother finally spoke, voice shaking. "Emma, how could you?" Emma looked at her and sobbed. "I was jealous, okay? I was jealous of her life." My stomach turned cold. So she admitted it. My father stepped toward her. "Jealous." Emma nodded. "She always had everything. The respect, the money, the perfect husband." I laughed once. "Perfect." Emma wiped her face, desperate. "I didn't mean for it to happen like this." I leaned in. "How did you mean it to happen?" Emma's mouth opened, but the truth couldn't come out. Because she didn't plan love. She planned replacement. My father looked at her like she was a stranger. "You don't have a sister anymore," he said. "You don't have a family anymore." Emma's eyes widened. "Dad." My father didn't blink. "I built everything you enjoyed," he said, "and you repaid it by humiliating your blood." Emma fell to her knees. "Please don't do this." My mother started crying quietly, but she didn't move to help her. Emma grabbed my mother's dress. "Mom, please." My mother pulled away like Emma burned her. Emma turned to me, voice cracked. "Please tell him to forgive me." I stared down at her. "You recorded in my house," I said. "You smiled at me after sleeping with my husband. You wanted my life." Emma whispered, "I didn't." "You did," I said. My father spoke again. "Get up." Emma stood shaking. He pointed toward the door. "Leave," he said, "before I call the police myself." Emma sobbed. "Where am I supposed to go?" My father replied, colder than ice. "Go to David." Emma froze. Then her face collapsed. Because she remembered David's words. "I never loved you." Emma backed toward the door, terrified. Then she looked at me with hatred and whispered, "This isn't over." And I knew she meant it. 2 days passed in silence. David's firm didn't call again. Emma vanished. The internet moved on to the next scandal. Then at 6:12 p.m., I got an email. From Internal Revenue Service subject. Audit notice, immediate action required. My heart didn't race. But my mind sharpened. I opened it. It looked real, official language, reference numbers, a threat of account seizure. Then I noticed something small. The sender address was wrong. 1 letter off. A fake. Someone was trying to scare me. I forwarded it to my lawyer with one sentence, track the source. 5 minutes later, the next blow hit. My bank app sent a warning. Multiple login attempts detected. Then another. Password reset requested. Then my phone rang. The bank. A real call. Mrs. Carter, did you authorize a transfer of $48,000? I sat up straight. No. The agent paused. A request was placed under your name. It included your maiden name and security answers. My blood turned cold. Only one person knew my maiden name and childhood answers. Emma. I said calmly, freeze everything. The agent replied, already done. I ended the call and opened my email again. New messages. From my own address. Sent to my friends, colleagues, even my assistant. Subject, confession. The message said, I lied, David never cheated, I framed him, please forgive me. My stomach tightened. This wasn't revenge. This was sabotage. Someone was trying to destroy my credibility before the divorce finalized. I called my assistant, don't open anything I sent. She replied, panicked, people already saw it. I said, tell everyone it's hacked. Then a text arrived. Unknown number. You made me homeless, now I'll make you nothing. I didn't need to guess. Emma. I replied with one word. Proofs. 3 dots appeared. Then her next message came. Check your drive. I opened my cloud. A folder had been added. Name, the real you. Inside were edited screenshots of chats, fake bank statements, fake messages making it look like I paid Emma to seduce David. My hands tightened around the phone. Emma wasn't just trying to hurt me. She was trying to flip the story. To make me the villain. I called my lawyer, she answered instantly. She's forging documents, I said. My lawyer replied, good, that's a felony. Then she added, but it can still spread before we stop it. I whispered, then we stop it tonight. I opened my contacts and called the one person Emma feared most. My father's private investigator. He answered. I said, I want Emma found, now. He asked, alive? I smiled slightly. Very alive, I said. I want her to watch what happens next. At 9:18 p.m., the investigator called back. She's not hiding, he said. She's living with David. My jaw tightened, after what he did to her. He replied, they're using each other. She's broke, he's cornered. I asked where. He sent an address. A cheap apartment outside the city. So David didn't have hotel money anymore. Good. I drove there myself. Not because I wanted to talk. Because I wanted them to see my face when their plan failed. I parked across the street and watched the building. At 9:52 p.m., Emma walked out, wearing a hoodie, moving fast like someone who expects danger. She looked thinner already, her confidence was gone, her eyes kept scanning. Then David came out behind her. He grabbed her wrist and pulled her back inside. Emma shoved him, David shoved back. I recorded from my car. The investigator whispered on the phone, want me to send the police? I said, not yet. Because this wasn't about saving Emma. This was about catching them. At 10:07 p.m., the apartment lights went off. 10 minutes later, Emma came back out alone, carrying a laptop bag. She headed toward a car parked near the corner. Not hers. A man was waiting. I zoomed in. It wasn't David. Emma handed the laptop bag to the man like it was an exchange. Then the man handed her cash. My chest went cold. So that's how she did it. She wasn't just forging documents, she was paying someone to hack me. I sent the video instantly to my lawyer. Then I stepped out of my car. Emma noticed me. Her eyes widened like she saw a ghost. She turned and ran. I ran after her. She sprinted through the dark lot, but she was too slow, too tired, too scared. I grabbed her arm and slammed her against the wall. Emma gasped, get off me. I leaned close, you hacked me. She spat, you deserved it. I held up my phone, I recorded your payment. Her face dropped. Then she whispered, so what, nobody will believe you. I smiled, they will when the police do. Emma tried to pull away, you can't prove anything. I pressed play. Her voice on video. Her hand handing cash. Her face clear. Emma froze. Then she whispered, "Please don't." I laughed once. "You forged evidence. You tried to steal my money. You tried to destroy my name." Emma started shaking. I was desperate. I leaned in, cold and calm. "You should have stayed desperate," I said. "Now you're criminal." Emma's eyes filled with panic. "If you report me, I'll be finished." I said, "Good." She started crying again. "David forced me." I paused. "David forced you to climb into my bed." Emma flinched. Then her voice turned darker. "You think David's the problem," she whispered. "He's worse than you know." My eyes narrowed. "What do you mean?" Emma swallowed. Then she whispered the sentence that changed everything. "He's not just cheating, he's hiding money." Emma's words hit like a knife. "He's hiding money," she whispered again, "and it's not just his." I tightened my grip on her arm. "Explain." Emma swallowed hard. "David has another account, offshore. He said it's for protection." My eyes narrowed. "Protection from who?" Emma laughed bitterly. "From you." So even while cheating, he planned his escape. I asked, "How much?" Emma hesitated. "More than you think." I stared at her. "Where is it?" Emma shook her head fast. "I don't know the bank name, but I know how he moves it." I leaned closer. "Talk." Emma looked toward the building. "He uses fake invoices, old clients. He creates consulting payments. He transfers it out." My stomach tightened. Fraud wasn't just for hotel rooms. It was his lifestyle. I asked, "Why are you telling me?" Emma's eyes filled again. "Because he's going to blame everything on me. He already started." I smiled slightly. "Good, let him." Emma grabbed my sleeve. "No, you don't understand. He said if he goes down, he'll take you with him." My blood turned cold. "How?" Emma hesitated, then whispered, "He has videos." I froze. "Videos of what?" Emma's voice dropped. "Of you." My heart stopped for 1 second. "That's impossible," I said. "He doesn't have." Emma interrupted. "He set up cameras in the house, hidden." My skin went cold. I remembered his sudden obsession with security upgrades. The new smart hub he insisted on installing. The camera angles he said were for safety. I felt sick. I asked slowly, "Where?" Emma whispered, "Bedroom, study, hallway." My fists tightened. David didn't just betray me. He watched me. He collected me. I stared at Emma. "Why didn't you tell me before?" Emma's face twisted with guilt. "I didn't care. I thought it was power." Then she whispered, "He kept saying if you ever leave, he'll ruin you." I stepped back, breathing controlled. Because if David had those videos, he could destroy me publicly. And he would. Emma wiped her tears. "He's meeting someone tomorrow to sell the footage." My eyes sharpened. "Where?" Emma hesitated. I grabbed her chin lightly, forcing her to look at me. "Where?" I repeated. Emma whispered, "A storage unit. He said it's safer than the apartment." I let go of her. Then I said calmly, "Get in my car." Emma blinked. "What?" I didn't raise my voice. "You're coming with me." Emma panicked. "I can't, he'll kill me." I looked her straight in the eyes. "Then you should have thought of that," I said, "before you touch my life." Emma started shaking. "What are you going to do?" I opened my car door and leaned close. "I'm going to take his money," I whispered. "Take his secrets, take his future." Emma got in, terrified. As I drove away, my phone buzzed. A message from David. "Drop it or I post everything." I stared at the screen. Then I smiled. Because now I knew where to hit him, I didn't reply to David. I drove straight home, pulled Emma inside, and locked the door. She was shaking so hard, she could barely stand. "He'll know I told you," she whispered. I looked at her. "Good." Emma swallowed. "What are you going to do?" I opened my laptop. "I'm going to end this." At midnight, my lawyer joined a call. I played her Emma's confession about the offshore money and hidden cameras. My lawyer went silent for 5 seconds. Then she said, "This changes everything." I asked, "Can we use it?" "Yes," she replied, "if we get proof." I turned to Emma. "Storage unit location." Emma hesitated. "I don't have the exact number, but I can lead you." My lawyer interrupted sharply. Don't go alone. If he has recordings, he's dangerous. I smiled. I won't be alone. At 1:15 a.m., a black SUV pulled into my driveway. My father's investigator stepped out. He looked at Emma like she was dirt. Then he looked at me. We move tonight. I nodded. Tonight. At 2:05 a.m., we reached the storage facility. Emma stayed in the back seat, shaking. The investigator asked, which building? Emma pointed. That one, he said, Unit 18. We walked quietly through the rows. Then the investigator whispered, lights. A car was parked near Unit 18. Someone was already there. David. He wasn't alone. A man stood with him, wearing a cap and gloves, holding a hard drive case. David was selling the footage right now. My stomach turned cold. The investigator filmed everything from a distance. Then I stepped forward. David saw me instantly. His eyes widened. He shouted, "What the hell are you doing here?" I raised my voice just enough. "What are you selling, David?" The man with the gloves stepped back like he didn't want to be seen. David snapped, "Get out of here." I smiled. "Or what? You'll post videos of your own wife." David's face twitched. "You have no idea what you're playing with." I stepped closer. "Open the unit." David laughed bitterly. "Why would I?" Then Emma stepped out of the SUV. David froze when he saw her. "Emma," he whispered, "you brought her here." Emma cried, "I'm sorry." David's eyes turned black. "You stupid," he started. I cut in. "I know about the cameras." David went still. For 1 second the mask slipped. Then he smiled. A slow, cruel smile. "Good," he said, "so now you know." The gloved man whispered, "I'm leaving." David snapped, "Stay." The man hesitated. "This is not what you said it was." David stepped toward him. "You don't leave." The man backed away. Then David grabbed the case and shoved it into the storage unit. He turned to me and said quietly, "If you come closer, I ruin you tonight." I stared at him. Then I said the sentence that made his smile fade. "I already sent everything to my lawyer." David's eyes widened. And behind him, the investigator moved. Vast. He stepped out of the shadows and raised his badge. "David Carter," he said coldly, "you're being recorded." David backed up, trapped. And the storage unit door rolled open. The storage unit door lifted halfway, then fully. David stood frozen. Inside were stacked boxes, 2 suitcases, a locked safe, and a laptop on a foldable table. And next to it, a camera set up. Not 1. 3. Pointing outward like he expected someone. Like he planned this moment. Emma whispered behind me, "Oh God." The investigator moved in first, phone recording everything. David snapped, "You can't touch that, it's private property." I walked closer and pointed at the camera setup. "Private?" I asked. "You were selling footage." David's jaw tightened. "That's not what you think." The gloved man tried to slip away. The investigator blocked him. "Stay, you're a witness now." The man raised both hands. "I don't know these people, I came for a job." David shouted, "Shut up." I stared at the laptop screen. It was open. Folders labeled with dates. My name. My bedroom. My stomach turned. Emma started crying again. "David, you're sick." David shot her a look. "You don't get to judge me." Then he looked at me and smiled again. "You wanted proof," he said. "There it is." I asked, "Why?" David's smile grew wider. "Because you were always too perfect, too smart, too untouchable." I felt cold anger crawl up my spine. The investigator whispered, "This is blackmail material." David snapped his head. "Don't call it that, call it insurance." Then David reached into his pocket and pulled out a flash drive. He waved it slowly. "And I have backups," he said. "Hidden, if you try to destroy me, it goes online." Emma whispered, terrified, "He'll do it." David stepped closer to me. "Drop everything, the firm, the sponsors, the divorce, or you become a public joke." I stared at him and said softly, "You really thought this would save you?" David's eyes narrowed. "It will." Then I pulled out my phone and tapped my screen. A file sent notification appeared. David's smile faltered. What did you just do? I looked him straight in the eyes. I just emailed this entire storage unit to your firm's compliance team, I said, with your threat. David's face exploded with panic. He lunged for me. The investigator grabbed him and slammed him against the unit wall. David shouted, "Let me go." The investigator said coldly, "Touch her again and you're done." David spit, "She's destroying my life." I leaned in closer. "You destroyed it," I whispered, "the moment you hid cameras in my home." Then Emma suddenly screamed. I turned. She had opened the safe. Inside was a stack of cash, passports, and bank documents. Emma's voice shook. "These aren't yours, these are under different names." My lawyer's words echoed in my head, "Offshore." I grabbed the documents. Account numbers. Transfers. Fake companies. Not just cheating. David was laundering money. David saw what I held. His face changed instantly. Fear. Real fear. Then he whispered the most dangerous sentence yet. "If you take those papers, I'll kill you." David's threat hung in the air. "If you take those papers, I'll kill you." Emma froze. The gloved man backed away like he wanted to disappear. The investigator tightened his grip on David. "Say it again," he warned. David's breathing turned heavy. His eyes locked on the documents in my hand like they were a weapon. I didn't flinch. I said calmly, "You just threatened me on camera." David's face twisted. "You think I care?" Then he did something insane. He slammed his elbow into the investigator's ribs. The investigator staggered. David ripped free and lunged at me. Emma screamed. David grabbed my wrist and tried to twist the papers away. His fingers were strong, angry, desperate. I kicked his knee hard. He staggered but didn't fall. He raised his hand to hit me. Then headlights flooded the storage lane. A police car. Then another. David froze for half a second. The investigator had already called them earlier. 2 officers stepped out fast with hands near their weapons. "Hands up," one shouted. David slowly raised his hands like he was innocent. He forced a smile. "Officer, thank God you're here. My wife is attacking me." Emma shouted, "He threatened her." David snapped at her, "Shut up." One officer moved closer. "Sir, step away." David kept his voice calm. "This is a misunderstanding. She broke into my unit. She's stealing." I held up the bank documents. "Ask him why he has offshore accounts under fake names," I said. David's smile disappeared. The officer looked at the papers, then at David. "Sir, is this yours?" David answered too fast. "No." The investigator stepped forward. "I recorded everything. Threats, assault, attempted sale of illegal recordings." David shouted, "That's not illegal." The officer's eyes narrowed. "Recordings of what?" Emma whispered, trembling, "Of her in her home." The air turned colder. David's eyes flared. "She's lying." The gloved man suddenly spoke, panicking. "I wasn't buying that kind of stuff. He told me it was business files." David snapped his head. "You idiot." The officer turned to the man. "You came here to buy files." The man nodded fast. "Yes, he asked for cash." The officer looked back at David. "Sir," he said, "turn around." David didn't move. The officer repeated louder, "Turn around now." David's face was pure hatred as he stared at me. Then he whispered, "You think you won." I leaned in, voice sharp. "I know I did." David finally turned. Cuffs clicked. Emma fell to the ground crying, shaking, whispering, I'm sorry." I didn't look at her. David was pushed into the police car. Before the door closed, he shouted one final thing. "You're dead without me." Then the officer shut the door. And in that moment, I felt something shift. Relief. But also fear. Because David wasn't just a cheater. He was a criminal. And criminals don't forgive. David spent the night in custody. By morning, the story was everywhere. Not the cheating. Not Emma. The money. Headlines screamed, "Top lawyer arrested in fraud investigation." His firm released a cold public statement: "We do not tolerate misconduct." At 11:00 a.m., my lawyer called. "They seized the storage unit," she said. "They copied everything." I asked, "The videos too?" "Yes," she replied. "Police have them." My stomach tightened. "Then they'll leak." My lawyer's voice turned sharp. "Only if David has backups." I whispered, "He said he does." Silence. Then she said, "We need to move fast, he'll bargain." At 1:20 p.m., my phone rang from the jail. "David?" I answered. His voice sounded calm, like he was sitting in an office, not a cell. "Good morning," he said. I replied, "What do you want?" David laughed softly. "You really think cuffs stop me?" I stayed silent. David continued, "The police took my toys, but they didn't take everything." My skin went cold. David said, "I have 2 backups, one online, one physical." I asked, "Where's the physical?" He chuckled, "Safe place." Then he lowered his voice. "You made one mistake," he said. I asked, "What mistake?" David replied, "You trusted Emma." I froze. "What are you talking about?" I asked. David laughed. "She came crying to you, right? Told you about the money, the cameras." I didn't answer. David's voice sharpened. "She wasn't helping you, she was helping me." My heart punched hard. David continued, "That laptop bag she sold, that wasn't hacking gear." I whispered, "Then what was it?" David said slowly, enjoying every second. "It was the backup drive." My blood turned ice. David laughed again. "Yes, Emma sold it for cash because she's desperate." I whispered, "You're lying." David replied, "Call her." I ended the jail call instantly and dialed Emma. Straight to voicemail. I called again. No answer. My lawyer texted, "Update, Emma's not responding, her location is off." I felt the floor shift beneath me. David had played both of us. He used Emma to pull me into the storage unit, then used her to move the real backup away. Now he had leverage. A few seconds later, a message came from an unknown number. A video thumbnail. My bedroom. My face. Time-stamped. I didn't open it. But the message underneath made my throat tighten. "Sign the settlement or this goes live." Then another message. "And if you call police, I post it faster." My hands tightened around the phone. David wasn't just threatening my reputation now. He was holding my life hostage. And the worst part, Emma was missing. Which meant David wasn't done. He was just getting started. I didn't panic. I called the investigator. He answered instantly. "Talk." "Emma is missing," I said, "and David says she moved the backup drive." He went silent for 1 second, then he said, "Send me the number." I forwarded the threatening messages. He replied, "This isn't David texting, it's someone else." My eyes narrowed. "Who?" He said, "The buyer." So David wasn't the only criminal. At 4:10 p.m. my lawyer called. "They're offering a settlement," she said. "If you sign, he drops everything. No divorce war, no public leaks." I asked, "What does he want?" She hesitated. "A clean exit and money." I laughed once. "He's insane." My lawyer replied, "He has leverage, if those videos go online." "I know," I cut in. Then I whispered, "But I also know one thing." My lawyer asked, "What?" "He's desperate," I said, "and desperate men make deals face to face." At 6:30 p.m., the investigator called again. "We found Emma," he said. My heart tightened. "Where?" He replied, "At a motel, East Side. She checked in under a fake name." I asked, "Is she alone?" He said, "No, a man is with her, the same man from the storage unit." So Emma didn't run away. She switched sides. She chose cash. I drove to the motel, with the investigator behind me. At 7:20 p.m., we watched from the parking lot. Room 12. Curtains half open. Emma inside, pacing like a trapped animal. The man sat on the bed, counting cash. Emma's voice leaked faintly through the door. "I want more," she said. The man replied, "You already sold me the drive. That's the deal." Emma snapped, "That drive can destroy her. It's worth more." My hands tightened on the steering wheel. Emma's greed was endless. The investigator whispered, "We can raid the room." I said, "Not yet." Because I wanted the drive. Not Emma's apology. At 7:41 p.m., a knock hit the door. Emma froze. The man stood up fast, hiding something in his jacket. Emma whispered, "Who is it?" A voice replied from outside. "Delivery." Emma opened the door slightly. And the next second, the investigator moved. He stepped out with 2 police officers. "Police," one said, "hands where we can see them." Emma screamed. The man tried to run. The officer slammed him against the wall. Emma cried, "Wait, I didn't do anything." The investigator walked in and opened the man's jacket. A hard drive. He held it up. Emma stared at it like she'd lost oxygen. I stepped into the room slowly. Emma whispered my name, "Please." I stared at her. "You sold me," I said. Emma shook her head frantic. "He forced me, David threatened me." I leaned close. "You always choose the highest bidder," I whispered. Emma sobbed, "I'm your sister." I replied coldly, "Not anymore." Then I turned to the officers. "Arrest her too," I said. Emma screamed, "No." But it was too late. Because the hard drive was now in my hands. And David's last weapon was gone. By midnight, Emma and the buyer were in custody. The hard drive sat on my kitchen table like a loaded weapon. My lawyer arrived at 1:10 a.m. She didn't sit. She asked one question, "Do you want to destroy him or finish him?" I answered, "Finish him." We copied the drive without opening the videos. We didn't need to see my humiliation to win. At 2:30 a.m., my lawyer filed an emergency motion: illegal surveillance, blackmail, and financial fraud. At the same time, she sent the drive to the district attorney with a formal statement. David's bargaining power died in one night. At 7:00 a.m., my phone rang again from jail. "David?" I answered. His voice sounded confident, like he still believed he owned me. "Well," he asked, "are you ready to sign?" I replied, "I found your backup." Silence. Then his breathing changed. "You're lying," he whispered. I smiled. "Emma sold it." I heard him swallow hard. "She wouldn't," he said. I replied calmly, "David, you taught her." His voice turned sharp. "Where is she?" I said, "In custody." David's calm cracked. "You called the police," he snapped. I answered, "You said if I called police, you'd post it faster." David hissed, "So you rushed." I said, "No, I trapped you." Then I heard a sound in the background. A guard. "Carter, phone time is over." David shouted, "Wait." I spoke fast, cold and clear. "I sent the drive to the DA. I sent your offshore files to the IRS. I sent your firm the proof of surveillance." David went silent. Then he whispered, broken, "You can't." I replied, "I can." David's voice dropped into rage. "You think this is victory?" I whispered, "This is your ending." The call cut. At 10:00 a.m., news broke again. Attorney David Carter, charged in fraud and illegal surveillance. His firm disowned him, his partners testified, his name became poison. At 12:15 p.m., my father called. "Emma is begging," he said. "She wants to see you." I replied, "No." Because I didn't need closure. I needed distance. 2 weeks later, the divorce was final. David got nothing. Not the house. Not the money. Not even my silence. At 9:00 p.m. on the day the judge signed it, I stood alone in my bedroom. The same room they betrayed me in. Then I picked up my phone, opened my contacts, and deleted 2 numbers. David. Emma. And with one tap, they stopped existing in my life. The twist. I didn't lose my husband. I lost dead weight. And I walked away richer, freer, and untouchable. You have reached the end of the text.